6 months after his extravagant divorce, millionaire Daniel Carter's life took an unexpected turn when he saw his pregnant ex-wife Elena serving tables at his wedding reception, who had fathered her child. The shocking revelations that followed would leave everyone in disbelief and compelled Daniel to face the decisions that had broken them both. Hello my lovely family, welcome back to Jimmy Stories. Please do remember to subscribe, like, leave your thoughts on the comments section, and also share this video, it means the world to us. Thank you as you do so. Now sit back and relax as we dive into this thrilling story briefly. Daniel Carter and Elena met in college, during one of the most difficult times in their lives. They were young, ambitious, and full of dreams. Daniel was a business student with a big vision of starting his own company, while Elena was studying nursing, hoping to one day make a difference in people's lives. Their love was instant, and they became inseparable. Elena admired Daniel's determination and hardworking nature. He wasn't just chasing dreams, he was building them brick by brick. However, life wasn't easy. They struggled with student loans, shared cheap meals, and often spent nights brainstorming ways to secure their future. Daniel's charm and big ideas gave Elena hope that their sacrifices would one day pay off. But as their relationship grew, so did their challenges. Daniel's startup idea required funds, time, and sacrifices. Elena, deeply in love, made the first of many sacrifices. She chose to put her nursing career on hold to support him fully. While others doubted Daniel's dreams, Elena believed in him wholeheartedly. Their tiny apartment was often filled with laughter, despite the struggles. Daniel would sit at his desk, scribbling business plans, while Elena cooked or brought him coffee. They were a team. Every small success felt like a shared victory. When Daniel finally landed his first investor, it felt like they had won the lottery. The early years of their relationship were pure magic. They were partners in every sense, with Elena standing by Daniel through every failure and triumph. What they didn't know, however, was that the love that seemed so unshakable would soon face storms they weren't prepared for. Daniel's business slowly began to flourish. The long nights, sleepless weekends, and Elena's sacrifices were finally paying off. His startup grew into a profitable company, and his name became well known in the business world. People admired his success story, but they didn't know the cost it came with. As the business grew, so did Daniel's responsibilities. Meetings, conferences, and networking events began to take over his life. He was no longer the man who laughed with Elena in their tiny apartment. He became someone who checked his watch more than he checked in with her. Elena tried to adjust to their new reality. She thought that Daniel's hard work was for both of them, but she started to feel invisible. She would prepare meals that often went cold because Daniel came home late. Their conversations grew shorter, and the once strong connection between them began to fade. Daniel, in his own way, loved Elena but was blinded by his ambition. He thought she would always understand, the way she always had. He was building an empire, and in his mind, it was all for their future. But he didn't see how lonely and unappreciated Elena felt. One day, Elena found herself sitting alone at a restaurant table where they were supposed to celebrate their anniversary. Daniel was stuck in a meeting and sent a quick text apologizing. That was the moment she realized how much their love had changed. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she thought about the man who once couldn't go a day without telling her how much he loved her. The cracks in their relationship grew deeper. Daniel became more consumed by his public image and professional life, while Elena felt like she was fading into the background. Her sacrifices, once made with love, now felt like a burden she carried alone. Arguments became more frequent. Elena tried to express her feelings, but Daniel always seemed distracted. He would apologize, but rarely made changes. She felt like she was competing with his business for his attention, and losing every time. The turning point came one evening when Elena discovered she was pregnant. She thought this would bring them closer, give them a fresh start. With trembling hands, she shared the news with Daniel, hoping for excitement or at least a glimmer of joy. Instead, Daniel looked at her with shock and concern. "This isn't the right time, Elena," he said, his voice cold and distant. "I'm too busy." We can't handle this now. Elena felt her heart shatter. She had hoped the baby would bring them back together, but instead, it pushed them further apart. Their arguments escalated, and the love they once shared seemed like a distant memory. Eventually, they agreed to part ways. The divorce was quick but painful. Elena moved out of their luxurious home and into a small apartment. She took up odd jobs to survive, determined to provide for her unborn child. Daniel, on the other hand, buried himself deeper into his work, convincing himself it was for the best. 6 months later, Daniel was standing at the center of an extravagant wedding reception. He was marrying a woman he barely knew, but who fit perfectly into his new world of wealth and status. The wedding was the talk of the town, with every guest dressed in their finest. As he mingled with the crowd, laughing and clinking glasses, Daniel's gaze fell on someone he never expected to see, Elena. She was wearing a plain black uniform and holding a tray of drinks. She was a server at his wedding. For a moment, Daniel thought he was imagining things. But it was her. She looked tired, her belly round with pregnancy, yet there was a quiet strength in her eyes. Daniel froze, unsure of what to do. Elena, too, saw him. Her heart skipped a beat, but she quickly looked away, focusing on her work. She didn't want pity or confrontation. She just wanted to finish her shift and leave. But Daniel couldn't ignore her. Memories of their past flooded his mind, her laughter, her sacrifices, her unwavering belief in him. He felt a pang of guilt that he hadn't felt in years. Daniel couldn't enjoy the rest of the reception. He kept glancing at Elena, his heart heavy with regret. When the celebration was winding down, he approached her. "Elena," he said softly, his voice trembling. "Can we talk?" Elena looked at him, her expression guarded. "I'm working, Daniel," she replied, her tone firm. "I know, but, please," he pleaded. "Just 5 minutes." Reluctantly, she followed him outside. The night air was cool, and for a moment, they stood in silence. Daniel struggled to find the words. I didn't know you were going through this," he said finally, his voice filled with emotion. Elena looked at him, her eyes weary but determined. "And you didn't care to find out," she said bluntly. "You were too busy building your empire to notice what you were losing." Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. For the first time, Daniel saw the depth of the pain he had caused. He realized that while he was chasing success, he had abandoned the one person who had always been there for him. "I want to help you," he said. "Let me make things right." Elena shook her head. "I don't need your pity, Daniel. I'm doing fine on my own." But Daniel was determined. Over the next few weeks, he quietly supported Elena, paying off her bills and arranging for better medical care. It wasn't about pity, it was about making amends. As the months passed, Daniel and Elena began to rebuild their connection, not as lovers, but as two people bound by a shared history and a child on the way. For the first time in years, Daniel put someone else before himself, learning that true success meant more than wealth or fame.